Welcome back to the Tribal Lines podcast, another Survivor podcast. Steve and Pat here talking about Survivor season 46, episode 3. Just to get on into it for me, it was a little bit of a wild ride, a lot of emotions, but I'm, eager to get into it. Steve, what's up, man?
What's up? Excited to recap this episode, although a little underwhelming.
Bet.
Much all about Banu and Randon. But it sets us up for the rest of the season. So you have to have an episode like this. It is what it is, and we move on. You
Yeah,
know.
that's right. But yeah, before we do dive into this episode, we got some trivia to cover here. So Steve's got his book of fun Survivor trivia questions. I'm gonna pick a random page number, and we are gonna see if you guys can answer the question correctly. DM us if you think you know the answer. You could be in the running for something cool later on. So keep an eye out for that. But without further ado, should I pick a page number?
Yeah. So we got 204 pages. What page number would you like this time?
I went I went back of the book last time. We're gonna go up
Yeah.
front. 13.
Okay. 13. All right, 13. He went back of the book. Now he's going to the front of the book. All right. Page number 13. Here we go. All right. Through 45 seasons, 6 people whose first names start with the letter T have won the game of Survivor. Name 3 of them. Okay. So there's 6 people with the name starting with the letter T that have won Survivor. Only have to name 3 of them. Send us a DM with those names. And if you get all 3 right, you are going to be getting a spot on the wheel in the running for a max of $50 for a cameo of your choice, or a article of Survivor clothing, an immunity challenge, or a buff. You can choose from any of them. And also, this upcoming Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern is when it closes for being able to submit the episode 2 trivia question. So if you haven't submitted your answer for that yet, go back, check us out. It's in the first couple of minutes of the podcast, and send us your answer so that you can be even more in the running for this cool Survivor prize.
Yes. Takes no effort but to just be a casual fan or a super fan or anywhere in between to maybe have a shot at winning something cool. So why not? Helps everybody out. So hopefully you guys do that and it'll be awesome because it's super fun,
Yep.
super easy. Questions aren't always going to be easy, but it's really easy to access where those questions are. So they're right here on the Tribal Lines podcast. But without further ado, we're going to get right into this episode. Get a lot of Banu of this episode, right? We're going to talk more about Banu throughout the
Oh
whole
boy.
thing. So it's a Banu episode, Banu from Yanu. Banu's feeling, very much on the outs immediately. You see that he's paranoid, can't keep a secret, doesn't really know what he's kind of doing out there. Very underprepared, just strategically and socially. I'm not just not sure. He's a kind person, right? And there's
He
like
is.
one of those things where, you know, it's a tough balance of like, is that someone how Q views him as like, is it good to bring someone like that, or is it just a total liability? And we're gonna see what the tribe thinks of Banu when it comes to those two parallels because it's either or, and it's not a good one to not a good spot to be for Banu.
Yeah, and like the fact that he didn't know about the fake Uddle plan, everyone knew except for him and Jess, obviously. So that definitely is not feeling good for him. He was surprised that Jess was the one who voted for him. Meanwhile, there was only one vote for him, so obviously it had to be from Jess. She didn't play her shot in the dark. I think he was just like expecting to go home. So much was going through his mind. He probably didn't even read the votes, didn't even realize how many votes were for him and were for Jess. Um, and everyone's trying to teach him how to speak at tribal council. He's saying how it's hard for him to lie to Jeff Probst. It's hard for him to be an actor and act. I mean, if that's the case, you signed up for the wrong show, buddy. Like, this is not the show you should have been on. Just because you like Survivor doesn't mean you can be a good Survivor player. The people who are applying should be people who actually can play the game, have the ability to lie, won't feel bad about it. I mean,
Well, it's
oh,
funny you say that because at a in a regular scope of like an entertainment value, it's yeah. But at the same time, this offers a different aspect of entertainment because when you think about it, the Survivor that we grew up and watching and love, I didn't grow up watching, but a lot of people grew up watching it and love, but we've watched back on is people from all these walks of life where people didn't, there are people that have that moral code of like playing loyal and not wanting to lie and all that thing. And then there's people that don't know what
Yeah,
the hell they're doing out there, but it doesn't make, yes, it makes, textbook makes them a bad Survivor player. But as an entertainer, as someone who wants to be entertained, I don't hate it because if
I
I've
guess
got
you're right.
18 game bots out there, it's kind of like that phrase of like if everyone's the same, like the world's a boring place because there's nothing else to give. There's nothing you see the same song and dance. Like we already complained about this three tribes, the new era format. It's nice to have these personalities and some, like a Jelensky, like a Banu, and then even like Q. Like I feel like we're seeing Q. Like we haven't had a player like Q in a little while. Like very like old school esque. Like I just feel like we have a lot of different personalities. Doesn't make them all good Survivor players, but it is decently fun to watch in a different.
No, you're right. You're 100% right. I mean, I feel like just with the fact that he's crying nonstop, I think that's where it's kind of getting to me
Oh yeah,
because it's
that's
annoying. It's annoying the crap out of me
yeah,
how he's crying 24/7. If he wasn't crying so much and he was still such a bad Survivor player and like didn't want to lie and whatnot and all that, it's that's fine because like I want some diversity with the type of players that we get. I don't want it. I want people who can play the game in different ways
I hear
and
you.
can still win.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But like someone who is like crying nonstop because they're so upset that they have to lie is like, and like, I don't know. His crying is just annoying me. I think that's what's getting to me. I think it's just annoying the crap out of me.
Yeah. No, I hear you. Uh, we see that Q has a bit of a relationship forming here with Banu. We've seen it kind of forming a bit. He's trying to pull Banu in and compare it to like a Boston Rob and Phillips situation.
That
Honestly,
was crazy. That was
honestly,
that
Banu
was
might be like
crazy.
the only person in the last like ever that you could like say that to and not have it like I mean, at least from what we've seen, like all right,
I
Banu,
don't think he cares.
yeah, but
Yeah.
it's that's like the worst thing that someone could call you
In
in the Survivor
Survivor,
world.
that's like a curse word. If you
Yeah,
call
I mean,
someone
it's
a
just
Philip,
it's one of those things where it's like I'm gonna show you how to play this game, bring you to the end, and beat you.
yeah, pretty
I
much.
I don't know if that's exactly the approach, but maybe, but it seems to be working because Banu looks at Q like his coach. Like he's like,
Yeah,
that's Coach Q. Like, what?
and
Like,
also Banu, remember this. Banu is not there to win $1 million.
yeah, well,
He's there to win 1 million hearts, and Q can get him to those 1 million hearts as long as he makes the jury. So
here's my hot take. I think they only showed us that because I feel like Banu's gonna skate by, and be the last pre-juror. And the only thing he
100%.
can do
That's
is be the
exactly what they
jury.
did to Sifu.
Yeah.
Exactly what they did to Sifu. Sifu, they did literally did a storyline about how Sifu just wanted to make the jury, and then he got cut right before the jury. I think that's 100% going to happen to Bonu. He's going to be the last pre-juror. Um,
Yeah, that'd be insane.
well, I don't know. Maybe I think he'll be the last person voted out before um they all come together
Hmm.
for the Mergatory, I think, because I don't see him being the Mergatory boot if he gets there, because I think people are going to want to pull him in because everyone knows that Banu's on the outs. Um, so I think if he makes it to where everyone's all in one island, he will be safe for a while, I think. Um, well, maybe not a while, because I think even the other tribe is going to realize why Purple did not really like Banu in the first place because he's not a great player. But also, Banu's not going to want to flip at the same time, even though he it knows he's on the bottom. I don't know. It's definitely going to be interesting to
Very
see
unpredictable, and
how
that's
he's
why,
very, very unpredictable. Like
yeah.
you'd think because of the way he's playing, you'd think he'd be predictable, but he's not at all.
Right, yeah, and it's like I don't know. I'm excited to see what happens more with Banu. They get saved by the
Hmm.
bell. We'll get into that. But
Yeah, the mermaid dragon that was really interesting.
it's a bad analogy. It's a bad
I thought it
analogy.
was a terrible analogy. It
Doesn't
was
make
so
sense.
and the way he was speaking it too, he was he was like so serious when he was saying this. Like
I mean, that's one thing. The comparison is just awful because a mermaid, you're looking at the tail, but the
Yeah,
dragon,
exactly. The
you're
mermaid
emphasizing the
is the
tail.
tail. That's what makes it a mermaid.
So I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what was going on with that. Bad comparison. But you know what? At the same time, a lot of entertainment value. You know he's got a good heart and a good soul. He loves Survivor. But like you said,
Uh-huh.
it goes back to like it's gonna be his, his ability to be like inflexible. Like I won't lie to Jeff. I can't lie to Jeff Probst. Like, come on, dude.
Yeah, right.
Jeff wants you
And
to lie.
Banu,
Jeff wants you to play the game.
yeah, like you can't lie. Just Jeff Probst, like I don't know.
But look at that.
That's
Jeff
kind
Probst
of
like he's
crazy.
Jesus now. I
Like
mean, Jeff
like you,
Jeff's my my goat, but I don't know that I go that far.
yeah, I know. You got to know how to say nothing but everything to
Yeah.
Jeff, like at the same time. Like there's a way to do it. I see a lot of people doing it on Survivor. Um, and you got to know how to do that. And they're trying to teach him, but he's getting upset by them trying to say that he needs to say things a certain way because he wants to do it his way.
Yeah.
Um, he explains Survivor perfectly twice in literally the first like 10 minutes of the episode. And so I wanted to talk about that because it's so perfect and it just shows how like difficult Survivor is. He says how Jess said that Banu was her best friend on the island and then wrote his name down. Um, which yeah, like that's just what happens in Survivor, you know.
Yeah.
And then saying that after Q's talk with him, he can't tell if the girls created the plan for Q to go talk to him to make him feel safe so he doesn't play his shot in the dark, or does Q actually like Banu and is telling him the truth? And he says he'll never know if Q is lying or not, and he's like freaking out to like just talking to the camera. I also love that. Um, Banu talks to the camera so often, and
Yeah.
I love that. I think that's so fun.
Yeah, no, he's definitely like I said, a fun character. He explains, yeah, exactly what's going on, and he doesn't know what's going on. He doesn't know who's
Yeah,
lying, who's telling the truth, or anything. But that's the game.
yeah. He's like
Yeah.
they could be lying or they could be telling the truth, and I'll never know.
Yeah.
Like it's it. After he said that, I was like, wow, that sums up Survivor so perfectly.
Right.
But yeah, and then Q talking with Banu, I think he says this later in the episode, but like talking about like liabilities and assets, liabilities and threats, how like you want to get the threats out because the liabilities you can turn into assets,
Yeah.
but threats are always going to be threats. I really loved that analogy. I think Q, even though I just something about him just screams I can't win Survivor. I don't know what it is like, but every episode he just surprises me more and more with his amazing strategic thinking. Even though I do think it's silly to take out Kenzie and save Banu, but I think if Banu was someone else and not like crazy Banu who cannot play the game of Survivor, if it was someone like Emily Flippin, let's say, I think Q absolutely would be making the right move, getting rid of Kenzie and turning this other liability into an asset.
Hmm.
And this is exactly what Caleb did to Emily. And so, and I don't think Q got to see that
I
before he
know.
went out. So I think
But Brandon went out, right?
Caleb and Q are thinking the same way, and Q isn't as outgoing as Caleb. So I think if he doesn't get pegged as a super huge physical threat at the merge, or if he doesn't get pegged for being super tight with Tiffany because of what Bono says later in the episode to Ben and Liz, then I think he could go far in the game.
Yeah,
I think
no,
he has what it
I see a
takes.
world where everything can just fall back on Q and it could go bad for him and he could go next. Um, which would
I
be
don't think he can go next, but like, why? How do you think he can go next?
tries to flip on Kinsey. Kinsey gets word, steals Bonu from Q in a sense, like because
Banu has no vote, and
uh
there's no way Tiffany votes out Q.
or
There's no way. That would be the craziest blindside I've ever seen in Survivor history. If that happens, though, I'll give you props. But that would
I
be
doubt it. It's gonna
yeah.
be Bonu. It's got to be Bonu.
I mean, now it's going to be Banu after seeing the scenes from the next episode. Banu, I'm pretty sure, tells the entire tribe what he told them on the journey, which is so stupid if that is what he did, because I'm almost certain that is what he did. But I think that I think it was going to be Kenzie. I think if they went to tribal, I think it was going to be Kenzie because of what Q said, unless Tiffany was lying to Q, but I don't see how that would happen. I think Tiffany would tell Q the truth. Q said that after finding out that Randon got medevaced and that they weren't going to tribal, he then went to go do a confessional and said that Kenzie doesn't realize how lucky she is because she just got saved by this.
That's crazy.
So I'm like,
Could you imagine if she was out? Oh my God.
that would be wild.
Be a huge blindside.
I think it would be smart for Q, extremely idiotic for Tiffany. So the fact that Tiffany might have been swayed by Q is shocking to me. I don't know why Tiffany would make such an awful move. But it never ended up coming to fruition. And I think if they go back to tribal, there's no way Banu survives. I think Tiffany, after finding out that what Banu said, is going to immediately change her mind and want to vote out Banu no matter what. So definitely not looking good for Banu. I'm glad I picked him early in my survivor pool.
Yeah. Yeah, I should have.
Yeah. But no, it's all right. I think you picked someone good, Liz. I feel like Liz could maybe be in trouble. I don't know. That whole tribe is still very confusing to me.
Yeah, very, very much so.
Yeah. And you picked Soda. Apparently Soda in the scenes from the next episode, Tevin says Soda's gotta go to.
Yeah, I like that.
I like that. I like that. But yeah, it seems like Soda might be a target if they go to tribal. I hope she goes home because after last episode, I'm not episode 3, episode 2. I was not a big fan of her anymore, even though I was after episode 1. So I'm okay with her going home. I'd rather Venus stay in.
Me too. I love her.
Yeah.
Love She's fun to watch.
And I think Liz will be just interesting. I don't think she has a chance of winning, but she'll just be an interesting character. Some funny confessionals here and there just to like make us smile,
Yeah.
but I don't think she'll be a big player.
I agree.
But yeah. Apparently from the time this episode, like the day after the second tribal, um was like when most of this episode was happening, but then they go 4 days earlier at the Siga camp to an idol search that they did because I guess it just didn't work in the storyline for episodes 1 and 2. So they show it now in episode 3 that Jem finds the beware advantage right in front of Charlie, hides it very well without anyone knowing, tells no one. Finally, someone doesn't tell someone and hides it in the middle of an idol hunt.
I would think I think I don't know. I got a good feeling about Jem.
Now I do. I didn't have a great feeling about her early on, but now I do. I like everything she did so far in this episode. I think
A really good
I don't
confession.
think she'll be the target if the guys go after one of the girls. I think it might actually be Mariah. And if it is Jem, well, sucks for the guys because she's probably going to play the. Well, actually, she probably won't play the idol if she gets targeted because she's thinking Maria and Charlie are with her.
Yeah.
That could be crazy if they target Jem and then she goes home with an idol. That'd be wild. I need to see someone other than Yanu. Please, a different tribe go to tribal council.
Yeah, it's just that's why people are saying it's a slower season, but I think that's why. I mean, with Lulu, like Lulu was losing a lot, but like they they lost. Hannah was first, Brandon was second. Who was third out?
Sabaya.
Yeah, fourth out was Sean.
Yeah.
Wow. So the first 4 boots were
Because Lulu, they kept losing, but at least they made it interesting. At least like you
very
didn't know
entertaining.
100% what was going to happen. Emily, who you thought for sure was going to get voted out every single time, somehow made it all the way to the final
Yeah,
two of
but
that
this is
pod.
just like a lot of Banu.
This is just a lot of Banu, and we don't need that. We don't need that in our lives. We need that for a couple of episodes. We don't need that for the whole time.
Yeah.
I thought he was gonna be a Jam Jam type character, but Jam Jam was way more strategic than him.
Yeah,
Um,
took the game a little bit. Not
yeah,
serious. I don't want to say the word serious, but like because I think Banu's taking it maybe too seriously sometimes. Honestly,
yeah.
takes things very personal, which is
Yeah,
hard
he
not
does
to.
take things very personal, especially I mean, especially when he says he's emotional, but it's funny that when he gets mad that someone's calling him emotional, he gets emotional.
Yeah.
So he's just proving their point.
Hmm.
But yeah.
Yeah.
So Jem has to get the next part of the advantage at night while everyone's sleeping. I love when they do this and have to sneak out of camp to perform a task. Like I remember Sarah had to do this in season 40
Hmm.
and had like Tony help like put like some like stuff on her face so
Yeah.
that she could like be unseen. I want more stuff like that, like where you have to sneak into another person's camp to like grab that. That could be an interesting thing for the Beware advantage.
Yeah, I do like that too. That's oof.
For Survivor 47,
Yeah.
Jeff Probst, take my ID. My
Oh,
idea.
do it.
Or just cast me for Survivor 47. You can do that too.
Yeah, you'll take either or, right?
I'll take either or.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I liked that, and Jem did a great job. And she now has everything that she needed to get up until whenever they lose, and then they'll get more instructions.
Yeah.
Um, I do want to jump the gun a little bit here, and go just to Randon for a second. The fact that like we'll talk more about how he got out later in the episode, later in the podcast, but um, he left with his Beware advantage,
Right.
which that's one, I guess that's, it doesn't happen very often, but that's one of the reasons why I don't love this Beware advantage, because it's once you find it, it's yours and only yours. You can't give it to someone else unless you have the full idol.
Yeah.
Um, and that's annoying because I think if he had the idol, he would have given it to Venus, and shit would have went down.
Well, I saw with other exit interviews, I, yeah, like he was trying to get to it and just like couldn't to like pass it off to her. He had like
Can you even pass it off to someone
I
after you already
think
lost your
well
vote?
he said in the Rob Has Podcast thing, he said it didn't have anything that said non-transferable on it, and he said that to
Mm.
production, and production was like, well, this hasn't really been done before like this in a sense, and he like had it in his vest like pocket and like couldn't get to it in time, but he had full intentions to give it to Venus because he wanted to root for Venus, because when he realized he couldn't work against her and wanted to work with her, realized that they were much more alike than maybe different, and realized that those two maybe, Randon acknowledges, he's like, I don't think I was ever first out, but I think I was definitely on the bottom of what was going on there. So
And
them,
I think that's perfect
yeah,
read from him because
yeah.
yeah, he I
Because
don't
I
think
don't think he would have been first out on that tribe, but I do think he could have been second out on that tribe. I think he could have gotten in trouble. Um, and
yeah.
I think him and Venus would have had like some really like, but I'll never say that I'm glad he got pulled. Obviously, like that sucks. I wish if he went out third, I wish he got voted out, didn't get pulled, just because like
Right.
you want to be voted out of the game, not pulled. But like I'm just because if him and Venus team up, it could come at like a Hunter or Tevin like demise, and I don't want to see that this early on, like a Hunter or Tevin out of the game. So I'm kind of happy that they're in a safer spot.
Yeah, I understand that. I mean,
But Venus and
I
Brandon would have been
was
like, I feel like they would have been like villainous and fun. Like,
yeah, they would have. You know, Hunter, I absolutely love. I wouldn't want anything to happen to Hunter. I hope he never gets voted out. I hope he makes the final three. I'm very much rooting for Hunter. Um, Tevin, I think, is a great player. Um, but and we'll probably get a lot more confessionals from him coming up because it's just been a ton of Yanu. Um, but he's starting to fizzle out for me. He just seems like someone who, no matter what situation he gets put in, it's going to be hard for people not to realize that he's the biggest threat in the game. Like I don't think he will be good at managing his threat level in this
yeah,
game.
he's a big
Uh,
social threat, dude, and he's very strategic, and people know that.
yeah, I think the only way he makes it far in this game is if he he finds a majority alliance at the merge, and then they don't want to turn on him until the end when they need to. If people are there to play Survivor and not have just set alliances where they pick off the minority over and over again, like round after round, I think Tevin goes kind of early-ish to mid merge.
Mm.
Um, and then I can see Hunter going farther. But I just see Tevin. It just seems like he's way too obvious as a threat on this tribe. He's going to be way too obvious as a threat on the other tribes, and he won't even have to do that much. He'll just like everyone will just think he's a threat because he's a great social player. Um, so I'm kind of nervous for him in the future. And if Venus was to have Brandon's idol and play it, and take out Tevin, I wouldn't be that upset. I would be upset if Hunter got voted out though, because I love him. He's like me in terms of like such a huge Survivor fan. I mean, it was pretty cool. They were calling him like Survivor MacGyver. He made a
Yeah,
bed for himself, and Soda even said that it made a bed sound, which was and it did, and that was so funny.
yeah. He
Um,
like he teaches students and plays Survivor games with them, and like he's like does
yeah,
different LRGs, you know, like
yeah. He's pretty much like making LRGs in a way.
yeah,
He builds Survivor puzzles for his kids. In his garage, he has like an enormous amount of Survivor puzzles. He has sandbags to practice challenges. He has the floating keys on the rings that they have like hanging where you have to like slam it. Um, he has like blocks for the stacking challenge for the balancing. It's awesome. Like
yeah.
he's like such a huge Survivor fan. I thought I was with all the mini Survivor games that I
Yeah,
in
he's got it
childhood that I have.
amplified, dude.
He has the full set. Super cool. I definitely want to go to his house and play some of these Survivor challenges.
Yeah,
Next, he's gonna make some motion, like a full size motion.
insane. I would love to play that.
Oh man, yeah.
But
Um,
yeah,
but yeah.
let's get into this immunity challenge.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So Nami's way behind, but I loved this is one of my favorite things I've seen in a challenge. Like this is like similar to not similar, but like when I was like, wow, like when Jonathan was pulling his whole tribe through the water in 42. This was like with the hunter roll over the barrel, like using
Yeah.
Kevin's legs. I thought that that was just Survivor MacGyver. You know what I mean? Like that was like that's such a hunter thing to do, and we see that they're way. I was like, damn, is Nami gonna lose their first, first challenge? And we see, at the end, all three tribes have to get what was it, three,
Five, I think. Five or
yeah,
six.
I think it was five or six. Yeah,
Yeah.
land them on like the posts, and I've always wanted to do that because I feel like I would do like decently well at that. Like I
Me
feel like
too. Yeah.
once you get it once, like you kind of get rolling. That's how you kind of see it in the show.
Mhm.
Uh, and we see that Yanu falls short. Q loses to Charlie. It's the Burdette fumble again.
Oh, so bad. I can't believe
He's like
Q
he
choked.
loses an immunity challenge on Survivor. Then he's like reflecting about high school.
I kind of liked it. I thought I liked the comparison. I mean, it makes
Same
perfect sense.
feeling,
Like
yeah,
it's the same feeling, so it makes
yeah,
sense.
it does.
That must suck. Like be fumbling, losing the game for, and then in the newspaper that everyone in your town sees, it reads that you screwed up the game for your team. And that's forever in the newspaper now. Like that would definitely hurt my spirit, and it does feel like the same kind of thing. Um, and what I was shocked with that Q did was he was telling everybody to vote him out.
Yeah,
Um, I personally think that he was only doing that to test his loyalties, and see if Kenzie or Tiffany would use this little information of him wanting to go home to flip on him. Um, but they were automatically like, absolutely not, like, suck it up, like, stop pouting. Like,
Wouldn't that make you feel like so good? Like,
oh yeah,
especially like when he
that
was
would have
like,
made
"Gotta
me
be
feel
voted out."
amazing.
I'd
Yeah.
be like, oh my god, they don't even want to vote me out. Like, you're doing something right, and he's physical, and they keep losing. They got to win. You can't get rid of your strongest guy. You never know what the challenge going to entail. And I think you're right. I think it was a loyalty test. I think it was more of like that negative self-talk coming out. You're hungry, you're tired. I think it was a mix of both. I think he was saying it like he meant it sometimes, but I don't think he ever meant it. You know what I mean? Like
Right,
I
right,
don't think he ever like push came to shove, like Jeff's like, "You want out?" Like I feel like he'd be like, "No, like I'm staying." You know what I mean? Like I don't
right,
I
exactly.
don't think he actually would ever like quit the game or like be like, "Please vote me out."
But this also brought me back to kind of the whole Jelinski situation because apparently in his exit interview with Rob as a podcast, he said that he wasn't the first one to bring up quitting. It was Q who brought it up first. Jelinski agreed, and then and then Jelinski decided to throw the hourglass. Um, Now, until we find out Q's side of the story, we don't know if that's true, but could this have been not strategy and could he actually have had like a quick like for a quick mini second
Well,
like
I
a
think I
lapse
think
like oh my god I should go home.
maybe. Yeah, I think he could have been so like in his head, so like upset with himself. Like it's one thing to be out there without like fire and to be out there without like food and be out there, but like every tribe is together in unity and you're just dwindled down to like what you have and like you have nothing. You keep losing. It's your fault that you lost that part of the challenge, which ended up losing you the challenge. Like it's very easy to just kind of spiral mentally if you're not in the strongest headspace. So I do think it was a mix of both. I don't think he was like, I'm gonna do this to see if they're loyal. I think it was like, you know what, I'm feeling like shit. Like, let me throw this out. Maybe throw this out there. Like, maybe it was like I want people to feel for me as well. I want people to feel bad. You never know, and we'll find out. But if I had to put money on it, I would say it was more just that negative self-talk coming out with a mix of like can I see what people would think about this? Because
Yeah.
it goes back to something I wanted to mention on Randon was in his interview as well. He had said, when he made that Parvati Light comment to Soda, he didn't mean that. It was actually a loyalty test to Soda because he wanted to see if he could trust Soda but what? It came back to Randon 5 minutes later that he had called Venus a Parvati Light and Soda had told uh, Venus right away to look out for Randon. So that's why the target ended up on like Soda, and that's why it might be on it still now. Um, but Randon had a lot to do with that because he wanted to work with Tevin and he wanted to work with Venus and he wanted to see if he could work with Soda, but he saw that he couldn't. So that's why he even got
Interesting,
stronger
interesting.
with Venus.
Okay, that is interesting.
A lot of loyalty
um
tests on Survivor
yeah,
46.
yeah, yeah. For Q, I think it was a mix of both, but like unintentionally the loyalty thing.
Yeah.
I think he for a quick second was like, I don't deserve to be here. You guys do, vote me out. But I don't think that was gonna last because I think either way they reacted, he was gonna want to stay. Either they were gonna say, absolutely not, we're not voting you out, we need you here. And then he's gonna be like, all right, like I have a tight alliance, they want me here, I'll stay. Or they would have been like, all right, yeah, we'll vote you out. And then Q's like, excuse me? Like, I guess we weren't close.
Yeah.
Let me try to plan your demise with Banu. Like, I think either way they reacted, he was gonna want to stay in the game. I think just at that moment in time, he was, just feeling the emotions,
Mhm.
feeling the feelings.
Yeah. But after this challenge, we see that there's another journey.
Yes.
Let's get into the journey. Liz is gonna go and she's gonna pick two others. She picks Ben and she picks Banu. And I was like, all right, this is gonna be a fun journey.
Yep.
Yeah, three,
I'm so glad Banu got picked.
three of the strangest cats on the cast. The best way. Like I just knew it was gonna be entertaining. They end up walking this trek, but before they part ways, because they have to pick rocks to see who's going to compete for an advantage, Banu just spills it out. And I do want to say, Ben and Liz did a really good job of just like that's a very good not only human play but social play. Like that is
Mhm.
like if Banu makes a merge, like he's not gonna forget that kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like I think that like he really like poured out everything to them, but also just spilled the beans about his whole entire tribe, where he stands, where everyone else stands, who's running the game, who's doing what, who's not talking to him, who's leaving him out of things. What happened with Jelinski? What happened with Jess? Two people from both tribes, I mean from each tribe, now know everything about that tribe. And if I'm on Siga, or if I'm on Yanu and I'm waiting to come, like I'm waiting for Ben or I'm waiting for Liz to come back. I hope that they give me like a smudge of information.
Oh my God. Yeah.
They have everything because you're so curious about the tribe that keeps losing. What's going on? Their dynamics are so much more ingrained. Their strategy has so much more polish on it, and they've been playing the game in a different way, right? Because the game starts when you land on the beach, right? But the game really accelerates when you vote. And that's like two things that I mean that's a thing that two tribes haven't done yet. Banu lets it all out, starts sobbing, doing the Banu thing. And
Oh, of course. Yeah. Yeah, like you said, the stuff he said is just you're gonna really hurt his tribe in the long run, saying how Q and Tiffany will never write each other's names down, how they are super close, yet Kenzie is the mastermind controlling the tribe and every single vote, and they're just doing what Kenzie wants. But so he's pretty much without saying it, he's pretty much saying like on the chopping block is Banu and Kenzie. Banu thinks he's definitely going home, but because they don't want to vote out Kenzie, and it can't be Q or Tiffany because they'd never write each other's name down. So uh, he said how they don't let him in on any strategy talks, say he's too emotional, says he's a fool. And Ben and Liz seem disgusted by the way the other three on the tribe are treating Banu.
because did they call him a fool? I didn't hear that ever. He called
They
himself.
didn't, they called himself, he called himself a fool, maybe was like treating him like he was a fool because saying like how um you need to speak this way at tribal, we will teach you, like you can't do what you've been doing. Like I think like they didn't actually call him a fool, but I think that everything that they were saying were like implying that he said that. I think that one thing saying specifically that Banu is a fool is what Ben and Liz were probably harping on the most in terms of like being disgusted by the way they were treating him. Um, so even though I think that is a lie and a little over exaggeration by Banu, that's gonna really hurt Tiffany Q and Kenzie, especially Kenzie, because he kept saying how Kenzie's the mastermind, she's the brains of the tribe, she's the brains of the majority alliance,
Yeah.
she's running the show. I think after this episode, I can strongly say that Kenzie has a 0.0% chance to win this game. Zero. She'd have to win every immunity at the merge. There's
Probably.
no way that
Maybe
they
they
don't
even
try to get her out after all that Banu said.
a lot of these new era tribes have seen like you can't let the two or three people from the decimated tribe sneak to the end. So they're going to be even bigger targets because of that story anyway.
Yeah,
You know, they've
good
seen it
point.
because if that happens, you let it happen at that point.
Yeah. Because
Yeah.
they saw they. I think they would have seen 44.
Saw
And
Tika, they
they
saw
wouldn't have seen 45. So the last thing they would have seen was 44, where Tika, three people, make it to the end. If Manu gets voted out and then those three go in and they know how strong they are, they didn't know how strong Tika was actually because they weren't always voting together every vote, but they like were always like in the swing positions. They're gonna now know how close those three people are because of what Banu said, and they're not gonna let that happen after just seeing what happened with season 44, their last season that these people watched. Um, it's definitely not looking good for them. Tiffany has a sliver of a hope.
I think she's got
Um,
the best shot of them all.
but yeah, I think she has the best shot. I think Kenzie would be target number one. And then if there isn't already a war between Siga and Nami, then I think they would also go after Q. Um,
Mhm.
but I think Tiffany is probably the safest out of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And worst case scenario, they have to pick a rock, and Banu wants a white rock. I think that's very smart of him to not want to lose his vote because you never know.
Mm-hmm.
But him and Ben end up having to play for the advantage. They both lose the advantage. They both lose their vote. Ben has to go back. You know, his vote's lost. I think Ben did a really good job of kind of just
Oh
explaining
yeah.
what's going on. I think Ben's in a really good position on his tribe. I really think. But to mainly focus on Banu because this is the tribe that's going to tribal at this point. he's in shambles. Dude lost his vote, can't play a shot in the dark. He's totally useless. He's a sitting duck, and his only hope is Tiffany. Because if Q wants to vote for Kenzie, it's Banu's fate is in Tiffany's hands.
Yeah.
Um,
Now with the whole losing the vote, having to do the puzzle and not completing it in time, what's your view on all that? Because I feel like that is ruining the show because they're making the puzzles too difficult for the time allowed because I feel like if there was no pressure, maybe they could finish it in that amount of time. But with the added pressure of being on Survivor, it makes the puzzles a lot more difficult. Um, and we've seen, I think, every puzzle or challenge that people have had to do where they could lose their vote or not get their supplies or stuff like that, they've lost every single time. There hasn't been a winner.
yeah,
So
I mean,
I
I
feel
hate
like
it. I hate
this
the
would have been,
journeys.
yeah.
I'm fine with journeys, but I want it to be like another type of benefit to it.
I want it to be, it should have been Ben versus Banu, 1v1. Whoever finished the puzzle first got an advantage. Whoever didn't lost their vote. That's what it should have been. I think that would have been a lot more exciting. And if, I mean, this is new era. They want advantages in the game. Like, if you want advantages in the game,
A
make
little
it
easier to
possible
get.
for people to actually get an advantage.
Yeah. No, I agree. Um, but I want to talk about just a little bit, you know, we see that tribal council is on the horizon, and we see that it's going to be Kenzie or Banu. Who did you think it was going to be Kenzie had they go to tribal?
I mean, the way they edited it, it looked like it was super obvious Banu, but
I think
obviously they must not have wanted us to see that it was going to be Kenzie, because they want there to be drama for the next tribal council as well. And that's when they'll probably show that Tiffany is possibly on board for it. Um, so I think before Jeff came to the camp, I thought it was gonna be Banu. Um, but after hearing Q's confessional, I think it was gonna be Kenzie.
interesting.
Um, which is pretty crazy. Um,
But we see that
what,
Mr.
what
Probst,
did you think it was gonna be?
I thought it was going to be I thought it was going to be probably Banu. I
Mhm.
would like to see a Kenzie blindside because it would have been fun, but I think it was always going to be Banu. I stand by
Yeah,
that.
I'm ready for Kenzie to go. I'm ready for almost. I'm pretty much ready for all of the Yanu to go. Like I'm sick of Yanu. So, like
Uh,
Tiffany, I'm the least sick of. Q, I'm starting to get the least sick of also. Um, but like if that entire tribe was the next four voted out, I would not care at all, honestly.
yeah.
um, but for some reason I would, well, not for some reason, it makes sense why I was thinking this, but Banu actually lied to Tiffany and Kenzie and Q when he came back, which I thought for sure he was going to tell the truth and screw everything up.
Yeah.
He says that he got the White Rock and that he didn't get an advantage but didn't lose his vote. I thought that was really smart of him, but then 5 minutes later tells Q everything. But I think if you're going to tell anyone, Q was the right person to tell.
Oh
I
yeah.
think
100%.
that was very smart of him, at least to fill Q in so that he knew that he needed to get Tiffany's vote to save Banu. Um, and because if Q was not on Banu's side, regardless of if Banu had a vote or not, he was going home.
I
So
agree.
if you're going to trust somebody, trust whoever you think is on your side, and they could possibly help you in the long run. Because if you don't tell them, then probably you're going home.
Right.
So I thought that was, I thought it was stupid at first, but then now realizing it's smart because Q truly was on Banu's side, and Banu just. But the reason for Banu saying it was like, I can't lie to you. I can't lie to you. Like, bruh, you can lie to whoever you want. Just do it. You're on Survivor.
Yeah. Well, everyone's different, I guess. But
Yeah.
yeah, we get Mr. Probst on the island here. There's no tribal council, which was a little strange, but we see Jeff walk up, delivers the news that Randon has been pulled from the game. Randon throughout the episode was talking about some pain he was having shooting up the back of his neck and through his spine, and was having issues with his hand and movement with his hand and feeling with his
Yeah,
hand.
couldn't grip anything, had a sharp
Yeah.
sensation in his right side.
Mhm.
Multiple
So
medical visits. Seemed like a pinched nerve that he would have been able to deal with perfectly fine and heal on its own. But Dr. Will, I think it was, after consulting a colleague, uh, thought it might be a bulging disc possibly, which would require him to have surgery. So they wanted to get an MRI. Therefore, he had to leave the game, which really sucked. I mean, I I was in between on Randon. I'd say after episode one, I hated his goddamn guts. After
yeah,
episode two, I absolutely loved him. And now episode three is gone. So it was a whirlwind for me and Randon, but he's gone. He's out. Not that big of a deal. Thank God it wasn't a more like important character. It sucked that he's the one who got the beware advantage because now I wonder what they're gonna do with that if they're gonna
probably just out
place
of the game.
if they're gonna place it again for not for Nami, or if maybe they're not gonna have any now there's only gonna be two beware advantages. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
not. I'm not
but
sure.
what are your views on the 24 like just getting taken out of the game from a medevac right away? Like Australian Survivor has a 24-hour rule where they can go off the island to a hospital, and if they're back within 24 hours, they can still play in the game. But if not, then they have to be completely medically evacuated. What do you think? Do you
Um,
think they should adopt that policy, or do you
no,
like it the way it is?
I like it the way it is. 26 days. You know, I'm not saying an injury is not as. I'm just saying for me, it's like when you get voted out, it's like you're dead, right? And then when you get medevac, you don't like die for 24 hours and like come back. Like you miss a whole day of like Survivor, and I
Well,
just
I feel like that could be.
the game doesn't stop. So it's like I think if
I
you
think
miss,
that would just be a disadvantage for them.
I agree, and I guess that's better than pulling them completely. It's like you giving them a fighting shot. But I mean, I guess I'm indifferent about it. I guess like if we had it, I wouldn't mind it because only people that would like what would annoy me is like if someone like was out of the game for like 24 hours, they come back in and then they get medevac like 3 days later, like anyways. That would be
Yeah.
annoying because
Or
like
also like,
what if they vote someone out and then like that would it's like I don't know.
yeah, but then also they'd be getting in a way like a reward because they'd be getting a hospital bed a lot better than the bamboo and the floor.
Yeah, it's like
They
you're
would
at a
be getting
different starting
IV.
point again.
Yeah, they'd be
But
getting IVs, getting fluids in their body. Like it wouldn't put them on a even playing field. So I'm like 50-50 on it. I like the 24-hour rule, but at the same time, it is a little bit unfair. Um, yeah, I think it just sucks whenever somebody has to be medevaced,
yeah, I agree. I
especially
mean,
for something that you don't know if it's actually bad or not.
yeah, I mean, and to be clear, I mean, Brandon said that if he had 24-hour care, he would not have been able to re-enter the game anyway.
Oh,
Um,
did he? Okay.
he had said, because Rob had brought that up too, and he had said, he didn't get full function and back into his arm for like a couple of months.
Wow.
He was saying like maybe a day or two later, like his neck was fine and the swelling went down, but his arm is like fucked up for like months.
Oof.
So weird, but guess what? Yanu is happy about it. They're not only like, wow, we're safe, they're like throwing a fucking party, dude. And this dude just got medevacked.
Yeah, I thought that was funny. That's also perfect show explains Survivor perfectly as well. Like Jeff said, one person's pain is another person's win. Um, so good for them. It definitely sucks for Randon, and they obviously were feeling for him, but for all the pain that they've had to and suffering they've had to go through this game, like I don't think they're gonna really care that much that Randon's out of the game. I think that's gonna really boost their spirits, to be honest. So
Yeah, no, I agree. But yeah, before we wrap this episode up, I want to talk about, we'll talk about a little bit of the scenes before the next episode and do our pool picks. But yeah, Kenzie or Banu, either or, saved by the bell. We see that Brandon is medically evacuated. First three people out. I thought it was going to be all three Yanus. We get a curveball here when Jeff walks onto the island. But Steve, scenes for the next episode. Anything stand out to you as something to look out for?
yeah, so we already touched on how Tevin is possibly thinking about getting rid of Soda. Soda's got to go to. Soda's manipulating. And Banu possibly telling the whole tribe what he said on the journey. That's going to be interesting to watch. I knew somehow Banu was going to like spill the beans. And I can't believe he would even consider doing that. It's so stupid. He's now for sure going to get voted off. Ridiculous. But the thing we haven't talked about is at the Sega camp, there's something mysterious in a hole, which I think is interesting because they already have a beware advantage floating around. So I don't know what could be in the hole. Another advantage, maybe like whoever wins the next immunity challenge gets like a reward, and that reward is like like a ton of keys scattered around the island, and you got to go run and test it out and see if you get it open for an advantage, like something stupid like that. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
But yeah, we'll see. We'll see what's up with that. Survivor pool picks.
All right.
We after episode 2, there were 16 people left because 3 people chose Jess. Now after episode 3, 15 people remain. 1 person got out because Randon got medevaced, which is so unfortunate. I think like 3 people had Banu also, so they got saved by the bell. If Banu was going home, sucks that this person got out from the medevac. It was actually Jared, who has been a guest host on our podcast. So unfortunate for him, but we move on, and we have 15 people left. Pat and I are still in it. Pat, you already chose Liz and Soda. Who would you like to choose for episode 4?
I'm gonna go with Tim.
Tim. Okay.
I think
How come?
uh I just don't know that he's an end gamer. I know we're still early. I think they might even be the tribe that maybe never sees tribal. Who knows? But might not be the best pick. But he's also in a position to where I'm not exactly sure of where he stands if they do go to tribal. So it scares me a little bit because if they do go, I could see where it lands on him first. But I'm pretty confident that I'm going to be safe this week. So I'm just going to take the safe pick, go Tim, because I think he'll be pre-jury.
Okay. So I have chosen Banu and Q already. So for episode 4, I am going to choose Kenzie. I think Kenzie was about to go home. I think Banu is going to be an idiot, tell everyone what he said at the journey. He's going to be the guaranteed threat. Tiffany is no way going to vote out Kenzie now. And after what Banu said, and now what all the other tribes know about Kenzie, Kenzie will be an early target at the merge. She doesn't have many episodes left, I think. I don't think she's going home if they go to tribal again. And I don't see them losing 4 in a row. So I am gonna risk it on Kenzie, and I think he'll be okay.
I like it. I'm with it. I think you have some valid points there. But
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, that's our Survivor pool picks. That's our recap for the 3rd episode of Survivor 46. Hopefully it picks up a bit more. I'm not down on the season, but I feel like we're at a bit of a standstill. But whoever's been, listening so far, make sure you DM us those trivia questions. Thank you all for listening to the podcast. Make sure you leave a comment what your thoughts are. And we'll see you next week for Survivor 46, episode 4.
That's right. See you guys.
Peace.